edition of DxO Photolab. Uh, we have a new release, Photolab 9, and I just downloaded it like late last night, and I started playing around with it this morning. And so, uh, a lot of this stuff is going to be new for me as well. But I did watch a couple of the promos, and I have a pretty good idea of some of the new features in Photolab 9, which I'm really excited about. It's something I had been struggling with in previous versions, particularly with masking individual subjects, but now they've added AI masking, and it's really amazing. And the beautiful thing of it is you don't have to be online to use the AI masking tools. It's all done right on your computer, and there's no sharing of information and things like that. You don't have to worry about anything, in terms of your privacy and all of that. You can just simply use the AI tools and then apply, your editing and stuff to the specific areas that you mask out. So I'll demo a little bit of that. And there's also some new data asset management type tools like being able to stack images together, rename images in batch. So I really like those tools that'll help me with my professional workflow more so than say my normal photo walks and things like that. And those are the two key areas that Photolab 9 offers. Now, I've been telling you guys, for those of you that watch my weekly live streams with DxO Photolab, where you submit your images and I edit them live, and I do those just about every week. Uh, I always say, try to upgrade, or if you currently are a Photolab user, try to upgrade every other version, right? So if you're on Photolab 7, makes sense to upgrade to Photolab 9. If you're on Photolab 8 currently, depending on how much you might use these new tools, you may or may not want to upgrade to Photolab 9. If you're new to Photolab completely, then you've come at the perfect time to get it, because these new AI masking tools really, you know, uh, make a tremendous difference in how you edit your photos. And it's much more intuitive, because now you're going to be editing specific areas of the photo, like just your pet dog or person, or the select the sky, like things like that. We'll get into all of that when I do the demos. So uh, let me just kind of walk through one sample image I pulled up, and of course, also, well, let me just finish with the Photolab. Also, DxO Photolab, their signature, and what got me to switch and purchase DxO Photolab, I started with Photolab 4, was the denoising capability and the DxO optics module. These two things alone make the price of admission, worth it for me. And I completely basically switched off of using just about every other product for most things. Now, I still do need some of the tools in the other photo editors like Photoshop, uh, but anything else, noise reduction, sharpening, composition, doing local adjustments, editing the photo in general. I do all of that in Photolab now. I don't really use any other tools. It's only when it comes to like doing mask. It used to be masking was a big one, but another one is layering, like being able to layer images together. So there's some tools that Photolab still does not have, built in, but there are kind of ways around it. And actually, most people that own other tools like Photolab, or I'm sorry, like Photoshop and Lightroom, that has HDR and panorama, and another big one is the focus stacking. Those tools are not quite perfect, right? And even though they have those tools, a lot of people end up buying third-party software to supplement Photoshop and Photolab anyway. And that's something you'll do with Photolab. You're going to supplement, very specific tools like that with third-party software. Some of it's free and very good. There's some excellent panorama stitching software that's free and does a better job than, uh, a lot of the all-in-one type photo editing software. Uh, there is some free stacking software out there that does a pretty good job with basic stacking. Um, for more involved stacking, then there's things like Helicon and Xerafin that do an excellent job and much better job than uh, any other software out there for doing those kinds of things. So I just wanted to kind of bring up front what I think the strengths and weaknesses are of Photolab. The biggest strength being the denoising and the DxO optics module for sharpening. And then the weaknesses, such as it is like there's no like panorama focus stacking and HDR capability built in. There are excellent HDR software like in Nick Collection that's probably got the best HDR module in it, and lots of people buy Nick Collection in addition to whatever other photo editing software they use. So these are the biggest things about Photolab. Now that they've added this AI masking and some additional tools for your data asset management, it's a really really nice upgrade to previous versions of Photolab. So uh, I would say now is a great time to get it. And also, I have my affiliate link down below. It's just robturek.com/DxO with a 20% discount code that you can use on any of the products, including Photolab 9. So you can get 20% off today with Photolab 9. And also, I'm going to be doing a giveaway for PureRaw 5 because some people they just don't want to use a different photo editor, and I get it because the Achilles heel of a lot of other photo editors is the data asset management. You got years and years of time invested in that, and it's very difficult to switch to a different software when your data asset management is you know uh, you just like I said, you have years if not decades of work put into that, and it's not easy to switch to another software. So PureRaw 5 is an excellent um, alternative to just get the denoising and optics module, right? So you don't have to have the photo editing part. If all you want is the key signature items that DxO offers, the denoising and optics module, PureRaw 5 is an excellent way to get that. It pre-processes your raw images before you start to edit them in any other software that you might be using. Um, so that's good. That's one I'll be giving away, and then another one is the Nick collection. Nick collection is it's been so popular over the last 10, 20 years, however long it's been out. When DxO took over uh, the Nick collection, they've done a lot of hard work and a lot of great things to that software, particularly the control points, the integration with Photoshop, the layering. All of these things are terrific. And Nick collection has the HDR module. It also has the silver effects, which is sort of the again the halo or the very best black and white photo editor out there. And the HDR module in Nick collection is also probably the very best HDR software that you can get. Uh, Again, a lot of people buy Nick collection in addition to whatever other photo editing software they have, including Photolab, 9 to edit their photos and be more creative. And I love Nick Collection's sort of filters that they have built in. It's really given me some very interesting looks that I wouldn't be able to get otherwise. I don't use them too often. I'm not really big on what do they call it, the presets and things. But time to time, I'll have an image that's kind of flat and uninteresting, and I can bring it into Nick Collection and make it kind of fancy, right? Uh, and then there's well, those are the two big ones, Nick Collection and PureRaw. There's also Filmpack 7. So if you want the very best film simulation for your digital photos, Filmpack 7 is the best, and uh, it does a really good job. And because film, emulating film is not an easy task, right? And even the very best, like Filmpack 7, it's never going to quite look like actual film. I mean, let's just be honest. That said, it does have a very authentic look to it, and really will really put you in the right direction, like a starting point for film simulation, and then you can kind of tweak it from there to get the exact look that you want. Um, and then finally, there's the vector point, I believe it's called, or viewpoint, which is basically it's a perspective correction type software for, it works best with really super wide angle lenses where you're capturing a huge landscape or in particular like architectural type things. And it's really difficult to get the image to look natural and uh, I guess normal looking is the best way to describe it because when you use super wide angle lenses, you get that wide angle distortion. Things get out of proportion, and Viewpoint is really good at helping you bring that back in to look a lot more natural, but still maintain that very wide angle that you started with. It's not a tool that I use much. I don't mind a little bit of distortion with the wide angle lenses, but for people that have very critical, particularly architectural type projects, Viewpoint is again probably top of the game, the very best out there when it comes to making these kinds of corrections. So if you're interested, I can demo some of those products separately, like Nick Collection and Film Pack, which I have installed. PureRaw, I don't need to demo that directly, but it is an excellent software. If I show you the noise reduction here in Photolab with the optical corrections, it's pretty much what PureRaw does. In fact, it's exactly the same. Another new thing with the Photolab 9 is you can now do X-trans files, including the new 40 megapixel sensor from Fujifilm. Now that is supported. It's also supporting Apple ProRAW. I guess the app. I don't have an iPhone, but the iPhones can shoot like some kind of Apple RAW. Now that is also supported here, and DxO is really good about continually updating the database of cameras and lenses for the optical corrections and for noise reduction. Uh, in that, uh, for example, I believe today they released where it's now supporting the OM system OM5 Mark II, and that camera just came out last month, and now it's being supported. So you don't have to wait too long if you buy a new camera. It won't be too long before DxO is on it and starts to create the modules for most cameras. One camera still not supported is my Pentax. I guess I should put a request in, right, to support my Pentax monochrome camera. But there are going to be some gaps, and they have a tool online for you to look up if your camera and lens is supported. They're also adding a lot of support for third-party lenses. There's some Samyang lenses that were added to the list. There's just about every Sigma lens is supported, and I think I saw Viltrox lenses get in there now too as well. So they're really working very, very hard to support as many lenses and cameras as possible. I mean, they're virtually all of them supported. You're going to find a few outliers here and there, but for the most part, you know, all you have to do is download the free trial using my affiliate link and see if your camera comes up and if it supports the denoising and optical corrections, including the lens combinations. And these optical corrections, are more than just basic, you know, removing the vignette and distortion and chromatic aberrations. It does it in a very, very intelligent way. It only sharpens the areas of the lens that are that are known to be a little bit softer, generally, right? But also, uh, for example, the corners of the image can be a little softer sometimes than the center. And it's not going to equally apply that sharpening to the center and to the edges, because then the center will get too crispy and then the edges will be okay. It intelligently applies these optical corrections, particularly with softness, based on the lens profile that they developed in-house. And this makes such a huge difference in your processing. and quality of the output of the image. And from my experience, and I've tried them all over the years, DxO has always been or always created the highest quality output of your final image that you export to share, online or to print, etc. So that's why I'm such a big fan of Photolab. So I'm sorry, I've been talking for like 15 minutes and haven't showed you anything yet. So let's just get into a picture. Uh, and let me turn off the chat window. There we go. So I'm just going to start here. I just pulled this up. This is a picture of my dog, Ellie. I shot this on my Fujifilm X-H2. All the exit data is here. All your tools. This is a fully fledged out photo editing software. And again, the very best. And the workflow is very, very intelligent overall. If you watch my weekly live streams for photo editing, you'll see that. But let me go ahead and just first, what I like to do is I always apply basic preset, and I created my own, and you can create your own presets as well. For example, I have a default preset here, which is optical corrections and noise reduction. I have a preset here to just crop into 1 by 1, 16 by 7. I also developed a high resolution preset specifically designed for the high res shot mode in our OM system cameras. Because I realized that by default, DxO does not create the very best high resolution uh, output for that particular mode in our cameras, as compared to, say, the native software from OM Systems, OM Workspace, was actually doing a better job at editing high-res shot modes in terms of extracting detail. But I created a preset that does just as good a job now as the OM Systems Workspace output, so I no longer have to use OM Workspace for my high-res shot mode files. All right, so I'm going to apply this basic preset. And right away you can see, maybe I can just put it up side by side. I'm going to put it side by side and compare to, and I'm going to close this panel down. But you can see right away that the image got rid of the vignetting and optical distortion here. It's very subtle. There's not much distortion. I think I was using, let me see what lens I was using for this. Yeah, I was using a prime lens. So prime lenses generally don't have a lot of distortion, but they do typically do have vignetting, and all of that's been removed. You can see that very clearly here up in the corner. And then if we just punch in, and this is this is probably a low ISO image. This is ISO 160, so we're at near base ISO, so there's not going to be a lot of noise. But let me just zoom in. Oops. And so you guys can see what I'm going to do here. So let me go back to a single panel. And what I want to do here is basically I want to brighten up my dog here in the foreground and maybe just darken and saturate the background just a bit. So this is a new tool in Photolab. Let me reset this. And I'm just going to click here for AI mask. Now I can just move the mouse around to different areas and it'll select them automatically like this. Or there's a little pop-up over here. On some computers, I saw it down here. But on my computer, I can click the drop-down mask and say, okay, select animals. Or select the background. I'm going to do just select animals for now. And then what I'm going to do is just maybe push the shadows a bit. Add a little bit of clear view and micro contrast. And I'm also going to add to this mask, I can use this little, they call this rectangle mode, and just sort of add in maybe her little toy here. She has a little stuffed animal. This is her favorite toy. into the mask so that now everything is kind of brightened up evenly. And then the background, I want to darken and saturate a little bit. So what I'm going to do is just create a new mask and do select background. And I'm going to do this in a graduated way. I don't want to darken the foreground, just back in here. So I'm going to select a linear gradient here and pull that down like so. And that should do it. I don't think I did that right. What if I move this? That should be right. Let me see what happens if I darken this. Yeah, it's getting onto her. There's a way to separate these. Give me a second here. Let me get rid of this. Why am I doing this wrong? Oops. Let me go ahead and just darken this a little bit. Like so. Add a little saturation. I'm sorry, I didn't watch the tutorial properly. There is a way to graduate. This is the first time I'm editing using these tools. So I'm just going to saturate this. And darken it just a tad. Okay, so the last thing I'll do is I'm going to use the control points, or they like to call it the ViewPoint technology. I'm going to create a new one. And I always like to do the eyes. We'll just make those just a little brighter. Add some clear view and a little micro contrast. And I think we're done. Let me go back to the background. Just darken it about a quarter stop. Okay, good. So that's it. Let me go ahead and export that. And we'll go ahead and reset. Let's see, you can compare. Once that's done exporting, it takes normally about 15 seconds. It's a little bit larger file, 40 megapixels. So we're going to go. And then Chuck had, while that's exporting, Chuck says it took Capture One 18 months to add the GR3X. So a few months at most for a new lens isn't bad. Wow, 18 months. Wow, that's a long time to wait for that. I have figured out some workarounds time to time. Whoops. I have figured out workarounds time to time to edit the raw images of a camera that isn't supported yet. And you have to change the access data to another camera that has the same sensor and processor, and that's worked about 90% of the time for me. But okay, this is done exporting. So I'm going to reset this image, and we're going to compare it to the output. And there you have it. So it's pretty straightforward, selecting the AI masking. Let's try a different type of subject. Let me see what I have in my library. Let me go to, let's do something at Huntley Meadows. Usually there's a lot of birding and wildlife in here. And I'm going to just select the raw images. Okay, so here's a nice one of a bird. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply my basic preset, and then I'm going to crop in, and I'll just do a square crop. And I'll do a tutorial on my workflow and all the different tools here. And then let's do an AI selection here. And I'll just say select the animal. And you can see it selected the leaf here a little bit. So I can subtract that, I believe, with just a brush. So if I hit the Alt key, and then let me make the brush a little smaller. Then I hit the Alt key. I can just remove that part like that with the brush. I don't have to remove it all, but just most of it. And there. So what I'm going to do for this guy is just push the shadows a bit. Like so. Let's push them a little bit more. And then pull the highlights in. And then let's make a new mask. And let's select let's select the background. I'm just going to make that a little bit darker. Like that. And then we'll make a new adjustment here using the control point. I always like to do the eyes. Birds, I do eyes, beaks, and talons. And we'll just give it a little push on the shadows, give it some clear view and some micro contrast. Be a little bit extra push there. And now that I'm zoomed in, you can see some of the noise and everything that's in the image, even though this is an ISO 640, it's pretty low ISO. And that's all we'll do there. So let me export this. And that shouldn't take too long, about 10 or 15 seconds. And Walter says, maybe there's a way to intersect the background and gradient masks. Capture One has mask improvements like this in the works. Yeah, there's a way to do it. Like I said, this is really the first time I'm using it myself. I saw the demo of them using graduated mask in the background and then a subject detect mask here in the front separately. But I didn't get it off my first go. So we'll try that again later. But okay, let's go ahead and compare. I'm going to reset this one. We'll do a side by side. So again, very, very subtle differences here, right? So this is my edit here on the left, and then this is the original on the right. And if I punch in, you can see what a tremendous job it did with the feather detail, working with the highlights, and then the automatic masking is excellent here. So this is why I use Photolab, and this is just a quick rough edit. You know, I'm not like really working too hard at it, and I got really good results basically right away here, very easily. So the masking is pretty awesome. Um, let's try these turtles. This looks like it might give the AI a hard time. Let's see what happens here. So I'm gonna go here, select the AI. Yeah, I can select the turtle, and I can select this turtle and add a little bit extra there. Let's see, did I get everything? Yep. And I can just push the shadows on the turtle, add a little micro contrast, And then let's add another mask. We'll do plus, and this time we'll select the background. And we'll just pull that in darker a little bit. Maybe add some clear view. And let's push, not that, let's push the midtones a bit. And maybe add a little vibrancy as well, just to bring out some of the colors of the foliage or whatever it is reflecting here in the background. And so here's the edit on my right, and that's the original on the left. And I think the turtles, stand out a lot more. If I zoom in, you'll be able to see it a lot better. And I haven't applied any noise reduction or optical corrections here, right? So let's do that real quick. So I can go here. Oh, I did apply them. Okay, good. But I think that looks amazing. If I want it to be a little bit sharper, I can say increase the details and just do that. Or I can go to my mask here and go down here, and I can say force details and add a little bit more optimization on the lens sharpness. And this is the 75 to 300 Pro lens, and really bring out sort of the fine textures on his scales here and on the shell. So it's pretty amazing. Now, let me give you a high ISO example, and then we'll move on to the data asset management side. Let's see. I think I have some down here. See what's in that bucket. My hard drives are spinning up. Okay. What's in here? I like to pick something that our eyes will easily distinguish. Okay, how about a hummingbird? These are always fun to do. All right, so I'm going to do customize, and as you can see, there's a ton of noise on this hummingbird. This was shot at ISO 12,600 or something, right? As you can see over here. So let's see how much we can do to this. So we're going to do apply preset, and this goes back to the core uh, or signature feature of DxO. So I'm just going to come in a little tighter, like so, and we'll keep a little bit of the feeder in the shot. Okay. And this image is a bit underexposed, so I'm just going to go ahead and just do a global adjustment. Let's try the smart lighting. Okay, that added a little bit, but we'll just do a global adjustment here to brighten the image a bit. And we have all of this set. Okay. Now, I'm going to go ahead and do an AI adjustment and see if I can improve some of the noise reduction on the hummingbird. So we'll do select animal. And I'm going to bring in this little loop that zooms in. That'll show me the details. So let's see if we can fix some of the details on the feathers here, or enhance them a little bit. So I'm going to go down the panel here and just slide this over to force details. And it's going to be very subtle. And then maybe a little bit of extra sharpening here. Right there. So that looks pretty good there. Let's go down here. That looks pretty good because before and after, that's looking good now. One other thing, I'm going to just pull the highlights a tiny bit on this. Let's bring that down just a little bit like that. And then I'm going to add a control point. Let's add a control point to the eye and see if we can bring out any of the color in the eye. That eye, yeah, the eye's pretty much gone. Not enough light there. We'll go ahead and just give it a little bit of pop with some micro contrast and clear view. All right, very good. I'm going to go ahead and export this. We have to export this to see the final result. So we'll export that. And then that should just take a moment. And Eric asks, what is Clearview in relation to Lightroom? It's basically like dehaze in Lightroom. That's the short answer. And Marco, hey Marco asks, is there no base Photolab license and Photoshop Elite license? Hit your affiliate link, and I'm only seeing the one option, non-elite. Yeah, there should. I think, that's a good question. I didn't ask them specifically about this. I should have. But you definitely, in Photolab 9, I don't believe they got the non-elite versions anymore. You basically just buy one version and it has everything. They used to offer like the elite version and a regular version or non-elite. And the non-elite did not have the optical corrections and noise reduction. Uh, and they got rid of that. I haven't really seen that since Photolab 6, I think. So if you get Photolab 9, it's going to have all of the tools that I'm showing you today, the AI masking and the denoising, the optics module, etc. Okay. I'm just checking the chat real quick. All right, so let me reset this, and you'll see a huge difference here with the before and after. So hopefully I selected the right one. All right, so again, this is a ISO 12800 image on my Olympus OM1, I believe is what I was using. And you can see what a huge difference this made in terms of the noise and detail it was able to pull out. So, and I'm punching in 200% here, 250%. And it's just amazing. If you look it down in here, this is a motion blur, of course, with the wings. But, if we back out to a normal viewing, you can see that, this is why I love DxO, and this is what impressed me when I started with DxO Photolab 4, and it's only gotten better since then. It does really an amazing job. And I'm able to do this very quickly. Okay. All right, so there's a couple of new data asset management things. So let me go back to my photo. So I've been using the project folders here, so you can set up projects and sub projects underneath of that. I think they call it project groups and projects, but uh, say for example, I want to find images I shot with my Pen F. I can just type in Pen F, and a list comes up, and now it's going to start going through and looking for all the images I shot with my Pen F. So it's just a basic search feature. I can then go in and say, show me the images I shot on my Pen F at f1.8, and I can select that. And then I can say, okay, I shot at f1.8. How about the images that are at ISO 6400? And I can select that. Now it's going to show me, or it's going to look for all the images I shot with my Pen F wide open at f1.8 at ISO 6400, which nothing came up in that case. So let me get rid of that one and say, okay, let's say ISO 200. Oops, ISO 200. Okay, now a bunch are showing up. And then what I can do, uh, well, that's the basic search feature. That can go on and on forever. But let me show you, like when we're in individual folder, let me go back to my Huntley Meadows folder and reset my selection tool. One of the new things is they've added stacking where you can group pictures together. So I can take this, start here, and let me just go back to a single image. So I'll start here. I can grab this one. So I'm going to take these images and then right click on it. And then there should be a stacking here. Stacking. So create stack. So now it's grouped those 6 images together. I can also take all of these bird images of whatever this bluebird is. I like this particular group here. I can stack these together and create stack. And this is useful, right? I can stack all of these. These are all my infrared images I took that day. So it just sort of makes things a little bit tidy when you're going through your images. If you want to do any kind of calling, or if you want to uh, stack together images that maybe you did some focus bracketing, or maybe you did exposure bracketing, you can group things together. One thing I want to try, since we're here, is let's try, what if I do stacking by, because there's another option here, stacking by, let's just select all. We'll do stack by shot date. Oh, this is awesome. So I'm going to separate the interval by 1 minute and see what happens. Okay, it's working. Or maybe I just crashed it. Let's see. We'll give it a second. Okay, so it did stack everything. Now this is extremely useful when you can stack by shot date, meaning you can select an interval. That will really automate stacking images together that say you focus bracketed. Because typically in focus bracketing, your images are only going to be your stacked images are typically only going to be less than a minute apart. So it can stack all of those together. So for example, here you can see I have 34 images stacked in this one group. So what that tells me is I was using like 25 frames per second. So I captured like 34 images in less than a minute because I was probably using a very high shutter. So it's really useful for things like that. Let's see if we can find any other big groups of images. Here's one where I got 28 images together inside of 1 minute. Um, so if I expand this, I'm curious, why do I have 28 images? Okay. So I was doing a ton of infrared shots, one after another here inside of 1 minute. Oh, come to think of it, I was probably doing focus focus bracketing, and that's why they're all together. Yeah, for this infrared group. So yeah, that's a really useful tool, the stacking tool. Okay, especially if you do focus bracketing and things. And then the one other thing I saw in their demo was about changing the names of the files in batch. So I'm going to grab this one all the way down to here. And let's see where it's at. Rename selected images. So they have presets here, file name and sequence, or date and file name. So there's some basic presets here. I like this one, camera model file name sequence. But I'm going to add infrared, like that, and just say dash. And the sequence will be a counter. So I'm going to have the infrared camera model. I'm going to add 720 nanometer because that's what I used. And just say rename these 26 images like this, and let's see what we get. Could not find the specified file. Oh, the ORI files. Yeah, because I deleted those. Okay. So if we look at these files now, you can see that the file's been renamed to infrared 720 nanometer OM3, which is the model of the camera. So I really like this. Let's rename image. Let's rename this group again. Let's say just these. Rename selected images. And I can select EXIF data. So if I want to, uh, if I want to add shutter speed to the file name, metering mode, and exposure bias, and then we'll add file name. So file name sequence number, but let's insert exposure bias. This would be great for doing focus exposure bracketing. So if you do a lot of exposure bracketing, you can rename them so that the file name itself has the exposure bias or exposure compensation that you dialed in, and that's really cool. Let's just rename those. They should all be at 0 or some yeah, minus 0.07. Okay, so uh, let's see the file name here. Yeah, minus 0.7. Oh, I should have put a dash. So it did rename the file. Wow, that's great. Um, I love that you can insert EXIF data into the file name like that. So yeah, that's a big win. Okay. Uh, so I see some more conversation here. It still shows, David says, I don't see it either. Yeah, I don't think they have it anymore. So you know, if you buy Photolab 9, you're going to get everything. I don't see an essentials version. You know, I never recommended getting the essentials version in the past, even though it was like at the time it was like half the price of the full version. But I didn't see any reason because you could just use OM Workspace or any other free photo editor and do most of what the essentials version could do, more or less. Uh, Really, the power of Photolab is their denoising and optics module. And now that they've added this AI and some additional data asset management tools and the stacking feature, which is really awesome for because I've been doing a lot of focus bracketing lately. And also, it's really good if you do a lot of high-speed shutter stuff, like you know, 50 frames per second. You can group your images together in those, you know, those sets of particular bursts that you're doing. So it's a really powerful feature. And I think those are the two key upgrades. There's some other ones like it now supports the 40 megapixel sensor, which I mentioned earlier. Let me just double check I should have printed all this stuff out. So I have subject masking, but batch renaming. Oh, the copy and paste. Yeah, if I wanted to, let me get rid of these ORI files real quick because I did a lot of culling the other day. So I'm just gonna delete these. Okay. Um, what was I just talking about? Copy and paste. So let's look at this batch of 4 images here of infrared images. Um, what I can do here, I edited this one. So I want to copy the editing that I did here to the other 3 images. So I can do Control Shift C and then select these other ones and do Control Shift V on my keyboard and paste that same editing to the other images. This is a JPEG file, so it doesn't have the data to convert like the raw images. And so you can copy and paste, all settings, or let's say I make a change here. Let me edit this one. And let's make a quick change here. Let's add an AI. Let's see if it'll select the sky. This will be a tough one for it to select. Yeah, it's not going to see the sky. So what we'll do is we'll just use our mouse and hover over the foreground, and we'll just bring the exposure down a bit, push the shadows, add some clear view. All right. Now, when I go back here to my photo library, I can right click this and copy correction settings. So Control Shift C, and let's paste it to this other image here. But this time I'm going to do paste. And I would paste all correction settings or paste selected corrections or local adjustments. Let's try local adjustments. And there. So it just pasted that one adjustment I did to the foreground and the foliage here that I did on the original image. So the idea being is you want to have a consistent look from image to image to image. You can select uh, just certain things, right? And you can also select very specifically. Let me just try one more thing. Paste. So if I do like paste selected settings, I can select which ones I want specifically to apply. Because sometimes I don't want to apply the same editing, everything that I did from the previous image. Sometimes all I want to do is apply the perspective corrections. So I can unselect all and say only select the geometry, horizon, crop, distortion, perspective. You know, maybe maybe that's all I want to correct, and then I'm going to work on the editing individually on another image. So there's just a ton of flexibility there. I mean, you can just picture all of the variations that you can do uh, when it comes to copying and pasting things, and they give you a way to also select images side by side. So if I create a reference image here, use image as reference, and then I can select any other image in the group. And if I want this image here for some reason to look more like this image on the left, I can edit this so it looks, more like side by side. This is a terrible example, but you kind of get the idea of, I can compare images side by side this way. So what I can do is go over here and just adjust this to try to get it to look a little bit more like the one on the left side. Maybe increase the yellows. It's not a lot of color in there, but that's what you're supposed to do with it. I don't do that too much myself because I don't bulk edit things like that. I like to edit images one at a time. If I were more of a commercial type photographer where I was, say, doing portraits or doing a wedding or whatever event, that's when I would most likely, and I do it sometimes when I do events, I'll take one image, do a lot of editing to it, and then apply it to another group of images that maybe I stack together using the new stacking feature. And it has saved me a lot of time in the past when I've done that for certain projects I've worked on. But it's not something I use very often. And then Paul asks, with these new masking options, the photo editing streams could become a lot shorter. Maybe. Not really. Most of my time editing is spent doing the composition first, right? But yeah, when I do have to select certain objects, because the old way of doing it was using a auto masking brush, and then it would try and select, whatever you brush over, and it wasn't great. It wasn't a great experience, right? Not like it is now. It's so simple now. You just move the mouse over whatever, and it automatically finds what you're trying to mask. So let me see if I can do like I just took a quick picture of a friend of mine. Uh, let's apply a basic preset. Okay, and then let's do the AI selection tool. I can say, okay, let's. One way is like I said, I can move my mouse around and it'll select automatically different things, right? But I can also just select here. This reminds me of the subject detect like that we have in our cameras, right? So they have people, hair, faces. They have a face. So let's just do faces, and I'm going to add her neckline into that, just using this rectangle tool. Okay, that's pretty good. And then let's just brighten her face a little bit, like that, and then reduce the micro contrast for those fine lines. Give it a little softness, and then we'll do her eyes. She has really dark brown eyes, so there may not be much there, but we'll try and bring out a little color. So I'll just push the shadows, give it some clear view to make it a little glossy, some micro contrast. And then let's just do a slight push on the exposure. Okay, good. Ah, that's too much. When you back off, it's too much. Uh, yeah, I think that's fine. Let me go back to her face and we'll just back that off a little bit. And then let's select, let's make a new mask. And what happens if we do select background? Oh, not bad. Background, and then we'll add this Jeep into it. Oops, I need to use this. We'll add that into it. And we'll just pull the exposure back a little bit and some of the highlights. We can even make it blurrier, I think. Let's try that. Ah, that looks That looks terrible. We'll just leave that. I'll just add a little bit of blurriness. And if we compare it side by side, yeah, it looks good. Pretty straightforward edit. All right. All right. So this is how I'm gonna do it. Let me get rid of all of this. So for example, I'm gonna do a gradient like this, right? So right now the gradient is covering her a little bit, but I want the gradient just to darken the background, but not the foreground too much. So what I do is I add an II mask for people and click on that. There we go. So now I've graduated the background and was able to cut out her from the background. So I can continue with the background and do some additional edits there. Like maybe shift the colors around. Oh, there's not much color back there. Let's try the white balance. So you kind of get the idea. Uh, so you can do it. It just takes one extra step. You just have to add this mask to it right here, invert the shape, and it cuts it right out. But I'll get better at this. I'll get better at this for more complicated because that was a very simple one. You just have a person in the foreground, and I did a linear gradient on the background. But I'll get better at this by Friday when we do our photo editing stream for more complex type images, right? And that's why I like to do the live streams every Friday, is because you guys send your images in and you can see how I edit your images using the tools available in Photolab. And it's really very educational for both of us, right? Because I get presented with images that I wouldn't normally take, and it challenges me to find ways to edit that to get the most out of them. And then you guys hopefully learn how I use those tools to edit the image in a way that, hopefully is better than it was when we started, right? All right. Um, so I think I'll leave it at that. I will try and make some videos hopefully before Friday using DxO Photolab 9 in a much more organized, uh, coordinated effort than I do in the live streams. Live streams, anything can happen, and it's very random. Uh, and show you my workflow from step one to there's about 10 steps in my workflow, right? Optical corrections, exposure, uh, cropping and composition, and then local adjustments for lighting and white balance, and then the export, right? So there's kind of an overall high level view of 5 things, but I'll get into uh, and lay those out for you into about it actually is about 10 steps in total. So you guys, thanks so much for joining me today. Be sure to use my affiliate links down below to at least download the free trial and give Photolab 9 a shot. If you're interested in the giveaway, I'll be giving away PureRaw and Nick Collection and Filmpack 7. So if you buy Photolab 9, these complement Photolab 9 very nicely right into the package. So actually, before I go, let me go ahead and show you an example. So we have this image. I have Filmpack installed, so I can go over here and add a Filmpack filter. Let's see. They have some down here. These are green, yellow, pink, brown. These are kind of crazy. Add a warm tone to it. And then over here, I can do color negative film and select maybe Kodak Elite Color or Kodak Portra. Let me get rid of this filter here. Portrait is pretty popular for portraits. So I can do this. and then set the white balance like that. And I can add some grain. Gosh, I'm terrible at this because I don't use it very much. There's current color processing and just increase the intensity. So now there's a little bit of grain in the image as opposed to no grain. It's very, very subtle. If I pick a higher ISO, let's see, here's a Fuji Xperia 1600. So I mean, it does a really good job with the Filmpack is really the closest you're going to get to a film simulation than any other presets that I've seen, uh, including the grain pattern and all of that. But right, you guys have a great rest of your day. I normally do a shopping stream today. I may still do that later tonight. Uh, so keep an eye open on my channel for our deal page that I normally do on Tuesdays. But because Photolab 9 released today, I wanted to just do a quick live stream on it. And and I think many of you that have subscribed to my channel in the past um, know what a fan I am truly about DxO Photolab. Uh, so download it, give it a shot. I think you'll really like it as much as I do. And then look at the instructions down below for the giveaway for the Nick collection and Filmpack and uh, ViewPoint and forget the other one. Like I said, I primarily use Nick collection for stuff, and then Filmpack time to time, and then I don't use ViewPoint at all because I don't really need to do that many kind of perspective corrections in my work. The tools that come in Photolab 9 are good enough, really. But you guys, thanks so much for joining me today, and hopefully I'll see you again soon in another live stream, and I'll try and crank out a couple of videos along the way.